A long time ago, I watched a series of videos on YouTube called Seoul Sessions about animator LaShawn Thomas's life in Seoul, South Korea, as well as where I first heard of his idea for an animated series known as Cannon Busters, based on his graphic novel series of the same name. In 2019, that idea finally became a reality, with the support of 2 Japanese animation studios, Japanese and English voice acting, as well as distribution on the Netflix streaming service, as a story about 2 robots and an immortal fugitive going on a road trip to meet a recently deposed prince. Knowing that a black artist born in America was able to collaborate with Japanese animation studios to make his own TV show about black characters is really cool. But I can't help but ask myself, is Cannon Busters really its own anime? It's clear that the series is heavily inspired by Japanese TV shows, particularly Trigun, as well as the works of Shinichiro Watanabe, such as Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. But to me, the environments and the character designs are so strikingly similar that Cannon Busters doesn't feel like an homage or a spiritual successor, but rather an imitation of these stories that didn't add enough new ideas to set it apart, and lacks a full understanding of how the structure of a Watanabe anime works. It tries to be a series of individual vignettes like its influences, but it also cuts in between that to show us what's going on in its main plot in a way where the 2 styles are in conflict with each other. I mean, there are shows that are inspired by anime and make it work, but I don't think that this is one of them, because while it may have a motley crew of characters like Cowboy Bebop, and a destination that the characters are traveling towards like Samurai Champloo, both of those shows do a much better job at making you invested in the side stories that make up the majority of their seasons, and Samurai Champloo never shows us who or what that destination looks like until the very end, whereas Cannon Busters does the opposite. The series periodically shows us what's going on with the deposed Prince Kelby, which adds more tension and makes us want to see him reunite with the robot girl Sam, at the cost of making it so that the side story episodes where nothing is accomplished feel more like a waste of time. A large majority of the show feels like filler designed to pad out episode lengths, and scenes will telegraph that certain characters are important, yet the show's attempts at being a vignette series doesn't afford them enough screen time to make them feel important, such as how there's an entire episode where the A-plot is about the samurai character 9 fighting someone from his past, and the show's opening animation communicates that he is a main character, but then he immediately disappears from the show for a while because he doesn't really have a stake in the Kelby plot, and only makes appearances for a total of 4 episodes, so he doesn't really feel all that important outside of being a cool character design. While some of the vignettes are genuinely fun, and I think it's neat that the series combines all these different ideas, the structure of the narrative itself just isn't very effective at what it's trying to be. The main draw of Cannon Busters is getting to see black representation in the same style and setting of specific popular anime, which is kind of a new thing, so disclaimer, I really hope I'm not being racist in this video, but I just wish that it had more new ideas, and was committed to a specific story structure, because the way I see it, there are 2 different conflicting directions that the series could have gone in. One is to focus on the vignette style, where you would restructure the episodes, contain all the Prince Kelby B-plot scenes to his own episode near the end of the season, and don't give away too much information so that the audience can stay in the moment. However, since that also runs the risk of still feeling like Imitation Watanabe anime, the second direction is to put more focus on the original storyline, where you would make sure that every episode contributes to the plot, cut out unnecessary characters, move Philly the Kid discovering his motivation to like episode 2 or 3 instead of episode 6, and maybe actually visit the kingdom of Boudica outside of flashbacks, or have an episode take place entirely from Sam's perspective, so that the Afrofuturism aspect is more present in the story. As it stands, most of what happens seems to take place from the perspective of Philly the Kid, who definitely is black and has an afro, but also literally dresses like Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop and has a bounty on his head like Vash the Stampede from Trigun, which contributes to Cannon Busters not feeling like its own entity. I'm glad that they got rid of the rising sun flag on his t-shirt, because it's a symbol of Japanese imperialism, but honestly, I think his previous character design for the pilot might actually look more unique than that of the final product. What I also find interesting is that this series premiered during the same year as Shinichiro Watanabe's Carole and Tuesday, which is completely different from what you would expect a Watanabe anime to be like. It's not a film noir, it's not a cyberpunk, a samurai series, or a sci-fi comedy, and it doesn't even really have fight sequences. It's about two girls trying to become popular musicians in the distant future, and instead of trying to be cool, it succeeds at being charming. Well, it's charming when it's not being slightly transphobic, but Carole and Tuesday actually has an overarching plot that it executes through a specific episode structure, where the vignettes are placed near the beginning of the series, while the plot-heavy episodes are arranged as story arcs that ramp up the narrative and narrow the audience's focus. It may not have a cowboy outlaw or a samurai, yet Carole and Tuesday demonstrates that what makes a Shinichiro Watanabe anime good isn't the genre, it's new ideas and a really solid story structure. Obviously, I'm only able to see the flaws in Cannon Busters because I have the benefit of hindsight. The series only has 12 episodes so far compared to the 26 episode range that the anime I'm comparing it to have. The animation is fantastic, as well as the theme songs, and I will still support LaShawn Thomas in the future. He's an incredibly talented artist with a great understanding of storyboarding, layouts, and character design that should not be written off, who moved out of his comfort zone to South Korea to better understand the pipeline more. So I'm not trying to act like I know more about animation than him, because I don't. But what I do know is what it's like to experience a really cool story for the first time and think to yourself, whoa, I want to make something like that. When what you really want is to make the same thing all over again, which is what I'm afraid might have happened here. Regardless of intentions, Cannon Busters still feels like the product of someone remaking their favorite things from other anime. So as someone who has previously advocated for how inspirational Japanese anime can be, I want to contrast that with the knowledge that there are pitfalls to drawing so much inspiration from just one artistic medium. That while it's okay to start out your project that way, somewhere down the line you should probably do your best to shape it into its own thing. And just like how it's important for filmmakers to study more than just film, I think it's important for animators to study more than just anime, so that their work doesn't become too derivative of what they're inspired by. If anything, you should watch Cannon Busters, both as an experience in of itself, but also as a cautionary tale of where the desire to make anime-inspired animation might end up leading you. That sometimes your work might be living in the shadow of what you're influenced by, or how sometimes your ideas just get away from you. I'm sure that making the series was definitely a learning experience for LaShawn Thomas, that there's probably a lot that he wishes could have been done differently. Season 2 could very well offer a lot of improvements, and yes, I am critiquing a black creator's work, but I'm not trying to tear it apart or blame him for its flaws. Rather, I'm trying to explain the issues that I see within Cannon Busters Season 1 in good faith, offer ideas for a better story structure, and warn future American creators to be more aware of the subconscious desire to remake their favorite things from Japanese anime, because that's what honestly comes to my mind after watching the series. While it may not be the most ideal execution of its concepts, there's still a lot that we can learn from Cannon Busters.
Fatback